The massive research vessel Stellar Inquiry hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its smooth silver hull reflecting the light of Earth's sun. Dr. Zix 427 stood at the observation deck, all four of his eyes fixed on the blue planet below. His thin, gray fingers tapped rapidly on the control panel as streams of data scrolled across the holographic display. "Impossible," he muttered, his antenna twitching with excitement. Simply impossible. The readings from the planet defied everything he knew about habitable worlds. The atmospheric pressure was too high, the temperature range too extreme, and the radiation levels from the sun should have made complex life impossible. Yet there it was, a civilization of beings who called themselves humans. The ship's internal communication system chimed. "Dr. Zix, the human representative has arrived at Docking Bay 3, announced the ship's eye. The alien scientist hurried through the gleaming corridors, his long legs carrying him swiftly to the docking area. Several other members of the Galactic Science Council were already there, their varied forms representing different species from across the galaxy. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. Dr. Alice Morgan stepped through, her brown hair tied back neatly, and her blue eyes scanning the assembled aliens with careful interest. She wore the standard Earth Space Agency uniform, but it was her calm demeanor that caught everyone's attention. "Welcome aboard the Stellar Inquiry," Dr. Zix said, using the universal translator. "I must admit, we were surprised when your species responded to our communication attempt so quickly." Alice smiled. "We've been hoping for first contact for a long time, Dr. Zix, though I don't think any of us expected it to be a research vessel." The alien scientists led her to their main medical bay, their questions already pouring out. How did humans survive in such high gravity? How did they manage the extreme temperature variations on their planet? What about the deadly solar radiation? Alice answered each question patiently, but the aliens' disbelief only grew. When she mentioned that humans regularly expose themselves to direct sunlight for recreation, several scientists made sounds of horror. "Perhaps a demonstration would help," Alice suggested. She rolled up her sleeve and showed them a small scrape on her arm from an accident earlier that day. "Watch this spot over the next few days. You'll see how our bodies heal themselves." Dr. Zix scanned the wound with his medical device, his antenna nearly tied in knots from excitement. "Your cells are already responding to the damage. The repair process is happening right before our sensors. That's normal for us," Alice explained. "We call it the healing process. All humans can do this." The alien scientists huddled around their displays, chattering in their native languages as they analyzed the data. One of them, a crystalline being named Dr. Quartz, approached Alice with a question that made the room fall silent. "Dr. Morgan, according to our scans, your species regularly ingests substances that would be lethal to most known life forms. Is this correct?" Alice thought for a moment. "Do you mean spices, or are you talking about coffee?" "Both," Dr. Zix exclaimed. "And something called pizza, which contains multiple toxic compounds that your species considers a delicacy." Alice tried not to laugh. "Those aren't toxic to us. In fact, many of those things are quite enjoyable. Would you like to see our dietary database?" The aliens' reactions to human eating habits caused such a stir that 3 different emergency protocols were activated. Dr. Zix had to personally override the ship's safety systems, which had determined that humans were impossible life forms and must therefore be hallucinations. As the first day of contact drew to a close, Alice sat in her assigned quarters, writing her report for Earth's leaders. She could hear the continuing excitement in the corridors outside. The alien scientists were still discussing their findings. Dr. Zix's voice echoed down the hallway. "Wait until the Galactic Science Council hears about their skeletal structure. Internal rigid supports made of calcium. And they walk on 2 of them." Alice smiled as she continued writing. First contact had gone better than anyone could have expected, even if it meant being treated like the galaxy's most interesting science project. She had a feeling this was just the beginning of humanity's adventure among the stars. Dr. Peter Walsh jogged on the treadmill, his steady pace drawing shocked gasps from the alien scientists watching him. He had been running for 2 hours straight, and the aliens couldn't understand how he was still moving. "He's still producing that strange liquid," Dr. Zix exclaimed, watching the sweat drip down Peter's face, "and his internal temperature remains stable." The human doctor smiled as he ran. When the Stellar Inquiry had requested a volunteer to demonstrate human endurance, he had jumped at the chance. As both a physician and a marathon runner, he was perfect for the job. "This is nothing," Peter said between steady breaths. "On Earth, some people run for entire days without stopping." The announcement caused such a stir that 3 alien scientists had to leave the room to calm themselves. Dr. Zix's antenna twisted into knots again, a sign of extreme excitement or stress. Peter wasn't sure which. But the energy consumption. A plant-like alien scientist named Dr. Bloom waved her leaf appendages in disbelief. "How can your species maintain such activity without photosynthesis?" Peter took a drink from his water bottle, causing another round of amazed muttering. The aliens had been shocked to learn that humans regularly consume dihydrogen monoxide, pure water, for survival. "We eat food to get energy," he explained simply. "Our bodies store it and use it when needed. That's how we can keep moving for so long." In the observation room above, Alice Morgan watched with amusement. It had been 3 days since first contact, and the aliens were still discovering new things about human biology that amazed them. Dr. Quartz floated into the room, their crystalline form catching the light. "Dr. Morgan, we've analyzed the data from yesterday's healing demonstration. We have questions about the process you call scabbing." Alice nodded. "What would you like to know?" "Your species intentionally allows dead cells to form a protective barrier over wounds, and new tissue grows underneath." The crystalline alien structure flickered with different colors, showing their amazement. "That's right. It helps prevent infection and gives the new skin time to form," Alice explained. "Remarkable. Most species would consider this a sign of severe decay." Dr. Quartz chimed in their excitement. Below, Peter had finished his run and was doing push-ups, much to the aliens' continued astonishment. Dr. Zix was frantically recording readings on his datapad. The muscle control, the balance, all on just 2 limbs, he muttered. "And look at the rapid repair of micro-tears in the muscle tissue. It's happening right before our sensors." A new alien scientist rushed into the room, their tentacles waving urgently. "The results from the temperature tests are in. Humans can survive in ranges that would kill 90% of known sentient species." The news caused such excitement that the ship's AI had to remind everyone to maintain proper laboratory safety protocols. Dr. Zix turned to Peter, who was now doing cool-down stretches. "Dr. Walsh, our data suggests that humans regularly expose themselves to temperatures that can denature proteins for pleasure. Something called a sauna." Peter grinned. "Oh yes, we also sit in hot springs for fun. Some people even pour hot water over themselves every day. We call it a shower." Several aliens made notes about this bizarre behavior, while others simply stared in disbelief. One of them fainted, their anti-gravity belt catching them before they hit the floor. Alice watched as Peter began explaining human joint flexibility, demonstrating with some basic yoga poses. The aliens' reactions to simple toe touches made her wonder how they would handle learning about human childbirth or the fact that humans could break bones and heal stronger. "Your species," Dr. Zix said, shaking his head in wonder, "continues to defy everything we thought we knew about biology. The Galactic Science Council will need to revise many of its basic texts." Peter wiped his face with a towel, causing another round of fascinated note-taking about human temperature regulation. "Just wait until you learn about our immune system," he said with a smile. "That's when things get really interesting." The aliens exchanged nervous glances, wondering what other impossible features these remarkable humans would reveal next. The grand chamber of the Galactic Science Council buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of alien scientists from across the galaxy had gathered for this emergency session. Holograms flickered throughout the room, showing different aspects of human biology that had been discovered over the past week. Dr. Linda Carter stood calmly at the center of the chamber, feeling like a specimen under a microscope as countless alien eyes studied her. The human immunologist had been chosen to explain one of humanity's most remarkable features, their immune system. High Counselor Venate, a tall being with silvery skin, called the session to order. We have gathered today to discuss the most unusual species ever encountered. Dr. Carter will demonstrate why humans are now classified as Deathworlders, creatures who evolved on planets that should be too dangerous for life. Linda stepped forward, holding up a small device. This is a simple Earth bug bite. Watch what happens when I scan it. The chamber's main display showed a magnified view of her skin. The aliens watched in fascination as white blood cells rushed to the area of the bite, attacking the foreign substances. Your bodies wage war against invaders, one scientist asked, their tentacles curling in surprise. And you survive this internal conflict. We don't just survive it, Linda explained. This process makes us stronger. Each time we fight off an infection, our bodies remember how to beat it. We call this immunity. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. Dr. Zix, who had followed the humans from the stellar inquiry, jumped up to add his findings. That's not all, he exclaimed. Humans intentionally expose their young to weakened diseases to trigger this response. They call it vaccination. Several aliens had to be given calming treatments at this news. The idea of deliberately introducing diseases seemed insane to them. Linda continued her presentation, showing how human bodies could fight off countless different types of infections. We even have helpful bacteria living inside us that help us digest food and stay healthy. You cooperate with microscopic life forms. High Counselor Venate asked in disbelief. Inside your bodies? Yes, Linda nodded. We call it our gut microbiome. Most humans carry around trillions of these helpful bacteria. The word trillions caused such a stir that the chamber's automatic calming systems activated, releasing a gentle mist to soothe the agitated scientists. Dr. Quartz floated forward, their crystalline form glowing with curiosity. Dr. Carter, our scans show that humans can survive massive blood loss and even regrow this blood. Is this correct? Yes, we can donate blood to help other humans who need it. Our bodies will make more to replace what we've lost, Linda explained. The alien scientists furiously took notes. One of them, a gaseous being contained in a special suit, spoke up. And you say humans can survive the loss of entire organs and continue to function? Linda nodded. We can live with just one kidney instead of two. Our liver can regrow if part of it is removed. We can even survive without our stomach, spleen, or parts of our intestines. The chamber fell silent for a moment before exploding into chaos. The concept of surviving without vital organs was too much for some to handle. High Counselor Venate raised all four hands for silence. This is unprecedented. Humans are not just surviving on their death world. They are thriving because of its challenges. Their biology has turned deadly conditions into advantages. Linda smiled as she brought up her final slides. Would you like to learn about how human children lose and regrow an entire set of teeth as a normal part of development? Several aliens fainted at this news. The head of the medical division had to be escorted out, mumbling about rewriting every textbook in the galactic database. As the session continued, news of human biological capabilities spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had once looked down on Earth as a barely habitable planet now saw it in a new light, as the crucible that had forged one of the most remarkable species in the known universe. Dr. Zix watched from his seat, his antenna twitching with excitement. He knew that this was just the beginning of humanity's impact on galactic science. He couldn't wait to see what other impossible features these amazing humans would reveal next. Dr. Sean Murphy stood in the Stellar Inquiry's environmental chamber, wearing only standard swimming shorts. The alien scientists watched through protective barriers as they adjusted the room's temperature. None of them could believe a living being could survive such extreme conditions without special equipment. Beginning cold resistance test, Dr. Zix announced, his fingers moving across the control panel. Chamber temperature dropping to what humans call 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Sean smiled as the room cooled. You know, people swim in much colder water than this for fun. There's something called polar plunging where we jump into nearly frozen lakes. Several aliens quickly checked their universal translators, sure they had misheard. Dr. Bloom's leaves trembled at the very thought. But how do you prevent your cellular structures from crystallizing? She asked, her plant-like form shrinking away from the chamber's viewing window. Our bodies adapt, Sean explained, doing some jumping jacks to stay warm. We shiver to generate heat, and our blood flow changes to protect our vital organs. Dr. Quartz's crystalline form flickered with excitement as they monitored Sean's vital signs. Remarkable. Their internal temperature barely changes despite the external conditions. The next test involved raising the temperature. Sean stood calmly as the chamber heated up, sweat beginning to bead on his skin. The liquid cooling system is activating, Dr. Zix announced, all four eyes wide with amazement, and the human appears to be enjoying it. Sean wiped his forehead. This feels like a nice summer day back home. Perfect beach weather. The alien scientists were even more shocked when Sean explained about saunas and hot springs. The idea of voluntarily exposing oneself to high temperatures for relaxation seemed completely insane to them. Later, in the ship's dining area, Sean caused another stir when he took out his lunch. He had brought several Earth foods to demonstrate human eating habits. This, he said, holding up a bright red chili pepper, is what we call spicy food. It contains a chemical that tricks our bodies into thinking we're being burned, but we eat it for pleasure. Dr. Zix's antenna went completely straight, a sign of utter disbelief. You intentionally consume chemicals that cause pain for enjoyment. Sean bit into the pepper, causing several aliens to activate their emergency shields. We even have competitions to see who can eat the spiciest foods, he said, grinning despite the heat. Dr. Bloom floated closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her horror. And this doesn't damage your internal organs. Nope. Some cultures on Earth have been eating spicy food for thousands of years. We've even developed different spices and sauces to make food hotter. The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent announcement. Warning. Detected potentially harmful substances in human food item. Recommend immediate containment protocols. Override, Dr. Zix said quickly, having gotten used to the ship's frequent alerts about harmless human activities. The human is consuming it intentionally. Sean then demonstrated another uniquely human trait, eating food at different temperatures in the same meal. He ate hot soup followed by ice cream, causing the alien scientists to debate whether humans had any temperature sensitivity at all. But the thermal shock to your system, one scientist protested. Wait until you hear about brain freeze, Sean said with a laugh, then had to spend 20 minutes explaining how humans could experience cranial cooling sensations from eating cold foods too quickly, and yet continue to do it anyway. As the day's tests concluded, Dr. Zix added more data to his ever-growing file on human biological capabilities. The file, originally meant to be a simple research paper, had grown into what would become a revolutionary text in galactic scientific studies. Humans, he wrote in his notes, appear to have evolved not just to survive their harsh world, but to challenge it. They seek out conditions that would kill most species and somehow turn them into sources of pleasure and recreation. Perhaps this is their greatest adaptation of all, the ability to thrive in circumstances that should be impossible. Sean packed up his remaining lunch, already planning tomorrow's demonstrations. He had yet to show them human acceleration tolerance, impact resistance, or the concept of spicy food challenges. He couldn't wait to see their reactions. Dr. Karen Phillips sat in the Stellar Inquiry's neural scanning chamber, her eyes closed as the alien machines hummed around her. The room was filled with excited chatter as the aliens watched her brain activity on their screens. "Impossible," Dr. Zix exclaimed, adjusting the scanners again. "Their neural pathways are constantly changing. Look at how the connections shift and reform." Karen opened her eyes and smiled. "That's called brain plasticity. Our brains change and adapt throughout our entire lives." The alien scientists stared at their readings in amazement. Dr. Quartz's crystalline form sparkled with excitement as they studied the data. "You mean your thought patterns aren't fixed at birth?" they asked. "You can learn new things at any time." "Of course," Karen replied. "We can learn new languages, skills, or information even when we're very old. Our brains keep making new connections." This news caused such a stir that 3 different alien species had to take breaks to process the information. The idea of a constantly changing brain structure went against everything they knew about neural development. Then Karen dropped another bombshell. "And every night, we enter a state called sleep where our brains sort through memories and repair themselves." Dr. Zix's antenna twisted in confusion. "You mean the state where humans become unconscious for hours and experience visual hallucinations?" "We call those dreams," Karen explained. "They're a normal part of how our brains process information and emotions." The aliens were stunned. The concept of voluntarily becoming unconscious and experiencing vivid mental images seemed incredibly dangerous to them. "But how do you defend yourselves while sleeping?" Dr. Bloom asked, her leaves quivering with concern. "Our bodies wake us if there's danger," Karen said. "We can go from deep sleep to full alertness very quickly if we need to." Dr. Zix pulled up more scan results on the main screen. "Look at this. Their brains show different types of activity during this sleep state. They cycle through different stages." Karen nodded. "Yes, we have light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. That's when we dream the most. Each stage helps our brains in different ways." The alien scientists were fascinated by the concept of dreams. They couldn't understand how humans could experience completely imaginary scenarios and still tell the difference between dreams and reality. "And you say human children start learning and forming memories even before birth?" Dr. Quartz asked, their structure rippling with interest. "That's right. Babies can recognize voices and music they heard while they were still developing," Karen explained. This revelation caused another round of excited discussion. The idea of consciousness developing before birth was completely new to galactic science. Later, Karen demonstrated how humans could multitask, talking while writing, walking while eating, even dancing while having a conversation. Each new demonstration added to the aliens' amazement. "But the mental processing power required," Dr. Zix protested. "How can you focus on multiple things at once?" "We don't always notice it, but our brains are constantly processing many things," Karen said. "Right now, I'm talking to you while maintaining my balance, controlling my body temperature, breathing, and thinking about what to say next." The aliens fell silent as they considered this. Their own species typically needed to focus entirely on one task at a time. Dr. Bloom approached with another question. "Is it true that humans can change their emotional states through something called imagination?" "Yes," Karen replied. "We can feel happy by thinking about good memories, or calm ourselves by imagining peaceful places. Our minds can even help heal our bodies. We call it the placebo effect." This concept of mind influencing body caused such excitement that the ship's computer had to remind everyone to maintain proper scientific protocols. As the day's tests concluded, Dr. Zix added a new section to his report. "Human mental capabilities appear to be as remarkable as their physical ones. Their brains are in a constant state of adaptation and growth, challenging our understanding of neural development. Perhaps most incredibly, they spend a third of their lives in an unconscious state filled with vivid mental experiences and consider this completely normal." Karen watched the aliens discuss her test results, amused by their reactions. She hadn't even told them about human creativity, art, or music yet. That would have to wait for another day. Dr. Nathan Cole stood in the Stellar Inquiry's medical bay, watching as alien doctors rushed around with excitement. On the bed before him lay an injured alien researcher, their crystalline form cracked from a laboratory accident. What had started as a disaster was about to become a breakthrough in galactic medicine. "Are you sure this will work?" Dr. Six asked, his antenna twitching nervously as Nathan prepared his equipment. "The human healing process gave me the idea," Nathan explained. "If we combine your regeneration technology with the way human bodies form protective scabs, we can help their body heal itself." The injured crystalline being, a junior researcher named Spark7, sparkled weakly. Their species usually took months to repair such damage, if they could heal at all. Nathan carefully applied the new healing compound he had developed. It was based on the way human blood clotted and formed scabs, but modified to work with crystalline life forms. The room fell silent as everyone watched. "Look!" Dr. Bloom exclaimed, her leaves waving in excitement. "The crack is already starting to seal." Within hours, Spark7's injury had completely healed, something that would have taken months using traditional galactic medicine. The medical bay erupted in celebration. "This changes everything," Dr. Zix said, examining the healed crystal surface. "If we can adapt other aspects of human biology to help different species." News of the breakthrough spread quickly through the ship. Soon, other alien scientists began approaching Nathan with questions about human healing methods. Could they adapt human immune responses for species that had none? Could the human body's repair systems be modified to help other life forms? In another part of the medical bay, Nathan worked with Dr. Quartz to develop new treatments. They studied how human skin healed from burns and used that knowledge to help plasma-based life forms recover from energy depletion. "Your species treats injuries in such a strange way," Dr. Quartz said, watching Nathan demonstrate wound cleaning. "You actually remove damaged tissue to help healthy tissue grow." "Sometimes you have to clear away what's broken to let new growth happen," Nathan explained. "It's like pruning a plant to help it grow better." Dr. Bloom perked up at this comparison. "Yes, we understand this concept. Perhaps we can apply it to our medical treatments too." The ship's medical bay became a hub of activity. Alien doctors arrived from across the galaxy to learn about human medical techniques. They were amazed by simple things like applying pressure to stop bleeding or using cold to reduce swelling. "You mean you intentionally lower temperature to slow cellular activity?" one alien doctor asked in wonder. "And this helps healing?" Nathan nodded as he showed them how to make a simple ice pack. "Sometimes slowing things down helps the body heal better. We use heat and cold in different ways to help recovery." Dr. Zix spent hours updating the ship's medical database. "Human medical practices are revolutionizing our understanding of healing," he said excitedly. "Their bodies have developed so many different ways to repair damage." The biggest surprise came when Nathan explained about exercise and how damaging muscles could make them stronger. The aliens were shocked by the concept of intentionally stressing body systems to improve them. "You mean humans actually benefit from minor damage?" Dr. Quartz asked, their crystalline form flickering with amazement. "That's right," Nathan said. "Our bodies adapt to stress by becoming stronger. It's why we exercise, why we can build calluses, and why broken bones often heal stronger than before." As the day ended, Nathan looked around the transformed medical bay. Alien doctors were practicing new treatments, studying human medical texts, and excitedly discussing possibilities. The combination of human biological understanding and alien technology was creating entirely new fields of medicine. Dr. Zix approached him with another question. "Dr. Cole, we've been thinking about human rehabilitation techniques. Could they be adapted to help species recover from long space travel effects?" Nathan smiled. "Physical therapy in space. Now that would be an interesting challenge." "Let's find out," he said, already thinking about how human exercise principles could help other species. The medical revolution was just beginning. Dr. Michelle Foster stood at the window of the newly built Galactic Medical Research Center in New York, watching as alien ships of various shapes and sizes landed at the nearby spaceport. 1 year after first contact, Earth had become the most important center for biological research in the known galaxy. The latest group of alien medical students has arrived, her assistant said, checking the holographic display. They're from 12 different species, all eager to learn about human biology. Michelle smiled, remembering how shocked the aliens had been when she first proposed the Human-Alien Medical Exchange Program. Now there was a waiting list of alien scientists hoping to study on Earth. Inside the center's main lecture hall, Dr. Zix was giving a presentation to a group of alien researchers. His antenna moved excitedly as he spoke about human healing abilities. "As you can see," he said, pointing to a display showing human cell regeneration, "what we once thought impossible is actually quite common on Earth. Human children regularly lose and regrow teeth. Human livers can regrow from just a small piece. Human skin constantly renews itself." The alien students took rapid notes, their various appendages moving quickly across their devices, one crystalline being raised a glowing limb. "Is it true that humans can survive the failure of major organs by using artificial replacements?" they asked. "Yes," Dr. Zix replied. "Humans have even found ways to connect their nervous systems to mechanical devices. They call them prosthetics." The news caused excited whispers throughout the room. The idea of successfully merging biology with technology was revolutionary to many species. In another part of the building, human doctors were learning about alien biology too. The exchange of knowledge went both ways, leading to incredible medical breakthroughs. High Counselor Venade arrived for the afternoon ceremony. The Galactic Science Council was officially recognizing Earth as an exceptional evolution center, a rare honor given to planets that produced uniquely advanced life forms. "When we first discovered Earth," the High Counselor said during the ceremony, "we thought it was too dangerous for complex life. We were wrong. The very challenges that we thought would prevent life have instead created one of the most remarkable species we have ever encountered." Michelle stepped up to the podium next. "Human biology has taught us all something important," she said, looking at the mixed audience of humans and aliens. "Life doesn't just survive challenges. It can grow stronger because of them. That's a lesson that will help us all advance together." The medical center had already produced amazing results. Human-inspired treatments had helped save countless alien lives. The concept of preventive medicine, barely known in galactic society, was revolutionizing alien healthcare. Dr. Quartz floated by, their crystalline form glowing brightly. "Dr. Foster, the latest results from the adaptation studies are amazing. We've successfully modified human-style immune responses for 6 different species." Even Dr. Bloom, who had once been terrified of human biology, was now eagerly studying how human healing mechanisms could be applied to plant-based life forms. Later that day, Michelle watched as a group of alien medical students practiced basic human first aid techniques. They were learning about bandages, splints, and wound cleaning, simple things that were transforming emergency care across the galaxy. "To think," Dr. Zix said, standing beside her, "just 1 year ago, we thought your planet was barely habitable. Now we understand that Earth's challenges created exactly what the galaxy needed, a species that could teach us all how to be stronger." Michelle nodded, watching as another alien ship descended towards the spaceport. Each new arrival brought more opportunities for learning and growth. Human biology, once considered impossible by galactic standards, was now helping to advance medical science for all species. "The best part," she said, "is that we're just getting started. There's so much more we can learn from each other." As the sun set over the research center, the building hummed with activity. Human doctors and alien scientists worked side by side, combining their knowledge to solve new challenges. Earth had found its place in the galaxy not as a primitive backwater, but as a shining example of how life could adapt, survive, and thrive against all odds.